Hello and welcome to Kalkine TV. I'm James Preston, live from Sydney for the Global Markets Roundup show. Let's dive into some key highlights and happenings from Friday, beginning with the US. Stocks surged globally on Friday in their best day in 5 months as strong US corporate earnings reports fueled optimism about the economy, though 3-year high oil prices kept inflation risk alive and lifted government bond yields. MSCI's gauge of stocks across the globe gained by 0.86%, the biggest daily rise since the 14th of May. Benchmark US indices closed higher for the second consecutive day on Friday, October 15, buoyed by robust quarterly results of financial majors, Goldman Sachs and Charles Schwab, amongst others. The S&P 500 rose by 0.75%, while the Dow Jones rose by 1.09%, and the Nasdaq Composite rose by 0.5%. The small cap Russell 200 fell by 0.37%. The S&P 500 advanced 1.9% this week and is on course for its best monthly performance since July. Markets were upbeat after solid quarterly results for a number of companies. In addition, Friday's positive retail sales data helped reassure investors about the growth outlook. Retail sales rose in September despite concerns over the Delta variant and the culmination of the government unemployment benefits. The Commerce Department said on Friday that retail sales had risen by 0.7% in September on a seasonally adjusted basis from August, reflecting strong demand and higher consumer prices. Financials, consumer cyclicals, industrials and energy stocks were the top gainers on the S&P 500. Utility stocks were the bottom movers, and 10 of the 11 index segments were in the positive territory. Looking now at the futures and commodities. Gold futures were down by 1.65% and silver declined by 0.53%, while copper rose by 1.91%. Brent oil futures increased by 1% and WTI crude was also up by 1.5%. And taking a very quick look at yields, the 30-year Treasury bond yields rose by 1.02%, while the 10-year bond yields rose 3.61%. US dollar futures index fell to $93.96. And now it's time for a very small break, but stay tuned with Kalkine TV. I'll be back in just a moment with all the details from the Asian and Australian markets.
Hi, I'm Sage, and get ready to take the crypto ride with me on Kalkine TV. Watch the crypto buzz every Tuesday and join the excitement at Kalkine TV. From Bitcoins to NFTs to Dogecoin and DeFi, we have updates about everything around these digital currencies. Understand the investing rationale and the risks involved in the space with me, Sage, on Crypto Buzz. Keep watching Kalkine TV.
Thanks for tuning in to Kalkine TV. I'm James Preston and you're watching the Global Markets Roundup show. Let's now head over to Europe. European stocks marked their best weekly performance in 7 months on Friday as a bright start to the earnings season helped ease investor concerns about higher inflation. The Pan-European Stock 600 index rose 0.7% to close at a 1-month high, ending the week with a 2.6% gain after a sharp rebound in risk appetite in the past 2 sessions. UK shares finally managed to surpass the yearly peaks on Friday, October 15, with the benchmark FTSE 100 hitting a fresh 52-week high as investors accumulated heavyweight shares before the major round of corporate earnings starting next week. Shares of blue-chip companies including HSBC Holdings, Royal Dutch Shell and BP provided a major boost to the index. According to the London Stock Exchange, the headline FTSE 100 gained approximately 0.49% to register a new 52-week high. The continuous buying momentum has led the index into the positive territory, with the market participants awaiting an update on the July-September trading period, as well as the businesses operating within the least possible restrictions during the quarter for the first time in the pandemic era. Meanwhile, Japan's Nikkei jumped to a more than 2-week high on Friday and posted its first weekly gain in 4 after overnight gains on Wall Street boosted tech stocks ahead of their earnings results. The Nikkei share average rose by 1.81%, while the broader topics advanced by 1.86%. The Nikkei climbed at 3.64% this week, while the Topix gained at 3.16%, snapping 3 weeks of losses. Chinese shares also ended higher on Friday, supported by gains in tech and financial firms, but sentiment remained cautious as investors balanced expectations of policy easing against worries of a slowing economy. At the close, the Shanghai Composite Index was up by 0.4%. South Korean shares on Friday posted their sharpest weekly gain in 6 weeks, driven by chip shares and optimism over the earnings season, and as movements in US bond yields also helped to stabilise the dollar. The Kospi ended by 0.88% higher, extending gains to a third consecutive session. Gold prices fell as investor sentiment improved. Spot gold fell by 1.6% and US gold futures fell by 1.67%. On the other hand, the benchmark iron ore price declined by 0.5%. In crypto, Bitcoin hit a 6-month high of $61,895 and 5 cents on Friday, approaching the record hit in April as traders became increasingly confident that US regulators would approve the launch of an exchange-traded fund based on its futures contracts. Alright, well that's all for the Global Markets Roundup show. Hope you enjoyed the program. Keep watching Kalkine TV for more live market updates. I'm James Preston, signing off for now.